What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Finish Line, a trail running podcast that dives deep into the stories that transcend far beyond the trails. I'm your host, Joe Hardin. I'm a passionate trail runner and ultra distance enthusiast myself, and today we have Derek Sprau. I'm really excited to have Derek on. Um, I don't really know how me and Derek started chatting, but as soon as we did, we made fast friends. I've had him on What's in Your Earbuds. um, he's just been a really cool dude to get to know. He's one of my favorite follows on Instagram too. It's been really fun to get to know Derek. So having him on the pod, I'm really stoked to have Derek on. But before we bring Derek forward, let's go housekeeping out of the way, friends. So friends of the pod, your support means the world to me and everybody at the EAPN. So do us all a huge favor. Like, share, subscribe to the Every Athlete Podcast Network. If you like what you see, do us a solid. Smash that 5-star button. Outside of my show, we have eight other shows. We have Fireside Chats, Fiery Embers, Running Tail, and man Craig Lewis across the pond. Evan Birch with Enduring Minds. He just had a great documentary about Nova, his dog, come out. Uh, Give that a watch. It's an amazing documentary. Watching Earbuds, where Derek's been on before. We just talk about music. It's not a very well organized show, but we have a blast on that show. We have Melon MVP, Food Fight Friday, which is one of the best shows, one of my favorite shows on the network. Your engagement helps us build this great community. We have a ton of content coming out every day. Um, and, we have a few more shows being added here and there. And we can't thank you all enough for being a huge part of this community. And also, if you have any questions for Derek during this podcast, feel free to type those in and we can get to those throughout the episode. So without further ado, let's bring my good friend, Derek, forward for this chat.
What's going on, Joe?
What's up, man? All right. I got you on Beyond the Finish Line. So I'm really stoked. Uh, yeah. So what's up, man? I like that shirt too. That's really cool.
Thanks.
Well, like I do with everybody that comes on the podcast, I like to ask the big question, right? So tell us who Derek Sprau is. It's a big question, right?
Deep question, man. I'm a dad, and I'm a hard worker and a good friend, and just human being trying to find my way in this crazy rock, man. So,
right.
But at the heart of it all, the thing that has always kind of kept me going through thick and thin is the running. So
Heck yeah. So if you would enlighten us, give us your running journey, your running story.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
let's dig into that.
So, a little bit backstory prior to before I even started running goes back into like 2001, probably for me. That was a pretty crazy year for me. Everybody knows 9/11 hit. I was actually in school at the time for fire science, studying to be a firefighter, and was in New York a couple weeks after that. And then a few months after that, through kind of a tragic accident, one of my closest friends passed, and I was the only one with him at the time when he passed. And after that happened, I like quit drinking and everything for a few months. Was kind of a little bit scared straight, I guess you'd say. And then kind of fell back into it, went down, started gaining weight, getting out of shape, drinking too much. And in 2007, right around Christmas time, I was in a buddy's basement drinking beers, and I made some offhanded comment, about running faster than him or something. And somehow we got on the topic like, oh, I bet you couldn't run a marathon. So that night we both at like 1:00 in the morning both signed up for the Chicago Marathon to run in
Rad.
what would be '08, and trained and ended up running that marathon. Did a couple races along the way, half marathons, 5Ks, things like that, building up to it. But man, I mean, after I ran that first Chicago Marathon, I was hooked on everything that was running. trailer road, I think there's just something really special about the endurance athlete community. Um, and you know, those majors marathons are just beyond electric atmosphere. You know, whether you're a road runner, trail runner, whatever, the atmosphere at those majors marathons is pretty undeniable. I mean, you've got multiple millions of spectators. You have some of the best athletes in the world. You have huge prize purses. I mean, it's a whole vibe, you know, and
Yeah.
and you know, it was a very emotional come to it moment for me. So after that, you know, I just kind of continued my journey in the running community. You know, running races here or there, ran half marathons and a couple of smaller marathons, and got into triathlons for a brief while. Um, Through all of that, I ended up getting linked up with a guy who was in the process of building a retail and racing establishment in Chicago. They already produced a couple small 5Ks and a couple small triathlons. They were getting ready to open up their first second retail location, expanding out of the city into the suburbs. So I came on with them in 2013. All this time, still very involved as a runner and athlete. The triathlon stuff never really linked up for me. I love running and cycling. I'm a water person. I'm part fish, but I am the slowest swimmer on the planet. I mean, the running joke with people that know me is you know, if I did an Ironman, I could run the marathon in the same amount of time it'd take me to swim the 2.4 miles. Um, so you know, that not didn't necessarily click for me, but I just, you know, everything else. So I came on with those guys as they were growing their race industry here in Chicago and eventually on a national scale. Um, I was very heavily involved in the retail side with opening up their new location. And we were a full service triathlon shop there, bikes, wetsuits, everything.
Oh, cool.
Um, I, you know, retail's brutal, but you know, I loved everything about helping people find what I had found in this sport. You know, people finding the love in running and helping them foster that, and you know, getting people who were excited fit for their new wetsuit or their new bike or their new pair of shoes, or you know, talking to them about their upcoming events and nutrition and training. And I just loved everything about it. And so I was with those guys through. I, I was with those guys through probably 2014, around there. Um, they started to get real huge. Their race series went national. It's now in like
Oh,
26
wow.
cities. It's the hot chocolate 5K,
Oh,
15K.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and the first year I worked that race, it was at Montrose Harbor, and it was like 3,000 people. The last year I worked that race, it was in Chicago in Grant Park, and it was 46,000 people, and we were
Wow.
in 22 cities at the time. So it was really cool to be a part of that and see that grow, and really get to see this industry from every side. You know, I got to see it from the retail side. I got to see it from the race production side. I got to see it from the participant side. Um, and it's just always something that has clicked with me. Um, and in uh, 2012 through about late 2013, I had kind of left that industry. I was still doing events on the side, freelancing. I also taught preschool for a brief period of time. Uh, and through all that, running was still with me. I got married in 2014 to my first wife, divorced like a year later. Um, and kind of around then started to fall out of my fitness cycle. I started a new job that had me on the road like 200 plus days a year.
Oh
So I
God.
was eating like crap, sleeping like crap. I was, on the road building out these brand stores where I was working in the middle of the night and things. So I kind of stopped prioritizing myself, I guess, you know. And so, anyways, after I got divorced and was working that job, I ended up meeting my now wife. Um, and she had two kids at the time that we met, and we had two more together, and everything was good. But it was uh, during that time frame was a rough time. I was went from living on my own and being on the road 200 days a year to being a father of three and then four kids within a year. Uh, COVID hit. I
Oh God. Yeah.
worked for myself, so that presented a whole bunch of challenges. Um, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. Those years were just they were rough. I was drinking way too much, and things were just not good. Um, and so I things got pretty bad at home and bad at work, and it was to the point where I had to take pretty long look in the mirror when I was having a six pack of beer on a 15-minute drive home from work. You know what
Oh man. Yeah.
I mean? So last summer, at the beginning of the summer, I just kind of randomly started running. I mean, I don't even really know. I just drove my truck to the trails one day after work and started with how everybody does, and hiking and walking and jogging what I can and building up. But it didn't take long for me to rediscover that love and what was getting from that, what I was getting from just, even if it was just 30, 40 minutes out there, and how much better I felt about myself and everything I was doing. Um, and I just kind of ran on my own through the summer with no plan or purpose. Um, I would go out, and if I felt bad, I'd run 3 miles, and if I felt good, I might run 10. I might run 15. Who knew? You know what I meant? I had no plan. I just was doing it just to be out there and feel good. And little quick jump back, when I was first running marathons, that was kind of at the time where Dean Karnazes got really popular. The book Born to Run came
God.
out. So
Phenomenal book.
that was really those years from like 2008 to 2013 was really kind of when this whole ultra running thing was like emerging from the womb. You know what I mean? And I remember we had one girl in our store who ran the North Face 50 miler up at Kettle Moraine here in Wisconsin, and that was
Yeah.
like crazy. Nobody had ever. I mean, and there was this other group out of Chicago doing the Lakefront 50, which was just 50 miles on the lakefront path in Chicago, which even at that time sounded like death to me. You should just run. But so one of the books I had read at the time that still to this day is just always stuck with me is Ultra Marathon Man by Dean Karnazes.
Dude, I think that's one of my favorites. Like, I think David Goggins like captured my attention, but then when I kind of realized like when you kind of like sift through that bullshit that book kind of is, I'm not saying it's not a great book, but it's just like, all right, I'm never gonna like run till like a bone pops out of me or whatever. Like, and then I like actually dug into like Dean Karnazes' book. I was like, oh, like this is like that's what really kind of got me really really fired up to go like a little bit further and realize that you don't have to like kill yourself to like participate in the sport. But yeah, great book.
Absolutely, man. I mean, his stories about running bad water and having a sandwich toast in his hand while he's running down the road, shoes melting to the pavement. I mean, that stuff's crazy. And I've no matter what, I've always been somebody where I find joy in that suck. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
those are the things where you feel good, you feel accomplished, and you have something there that's worth talking about. Like if I look back on it, like in my event days, when I sit around with all the guys that I worked events with for 5-6 years, you're working events where you're sitting in a park for 48 hours straight, catching cat naps in the back of a box truck, and all kinds of things happen. But the stories that we tell aren't about the events where everything went perfect. The stories
Yeah.
that we sit around and tell over and over, they're about the events where it poured rain the night before and we got a 26-foot box truck stuck on a path, and we had to have a wrecker come in and take it out and reroute the path at the last minute, or we got a forklift stuck in a field, or the weather was so bad we had to hoard everybody into shelter. Those are the things you remember, that you talk about, that make it for you. So
Yeah.
with my running and other things, it's very much the same way for me. So there's always been something to me from the moment I learned that existed, something about the idea of running 1, 2, 3, 400 miles in in the middle of the woods or the mountains. Yeah, your feet are gonna blister, you're gonna be in pain, you're gonna have moments where you question whether or not you want to still be alive. I mean, but you're also going to have moments that are just the greatest in the world. But looking back, that's what you're going to have. So I've always had that. So going back now, as I was running through the summer, I was starting to really build up to longer distances just on my own naturally, because I'm more prone to say I'd rather push myself to run 100 miles than push myself to run a 4-minute mile. Just that's just my
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And on New Year's Eve this last year, I went out randomly for a run, and I left at like 7 o'clock at night or something. And it was already dark, and I told my wife, "Yeah, I'm probably just gonna run 3-4 miles." And 3 hours later, she's calling me on the phone. She's like, "Where are you?" Well, I'm still feeling pretty good. Like, I think I'm just gonna keep running. And she's like, "Okay, well, as long as you're safe." She could see me on my, tracker and everything and where I was at. And I just kept running. I ended up coming home at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'd run like 27 miles on New
Oh,
Year's Eve.
nice.
And I went out kind of roughly in my head. I was like, "Oh, it's the new year. I'm going to run 25 miles for 2025." And I don't know what it was. And I came back and I sat down, and my wife was like, "I can't believe you just ran 27 miles on New Year's Eve." And I mean, that is not my New Year's Eve of the past. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and she was like, she has a friend who back from her rugby days that has gotten into ultra running now, and ran Black Canyon 50K this past spring and stuff. And she started talking to me, and my wife started. She was like, "Why don't you just sign up for a race?" And in my head, I'm like, I've only been running like 3 months. I'm not consistent. Like, I'm not gonna sign up to run some ultra marathon. She's like, just do it. So I looked around. I found this 50 miler in Michigan in April and signed up for it, and
Nice.
never looked back. And
um,
the rest. I mean,
yeah. Well, yeah. We'll dig into it.
I was calling you to say, hey, instead of pacing, is it cool if I just run with you for the 100 miles? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
We'll have to tell. Yeah. I guess everybody, to fill everybody in, right? Me and Derek have been talking, man, God, for a while now, and Derek was going to pace me, and then I can't remember how the conversation went, but he said, like, what if I, like, maybe I could just sign up? I was like, man, just send it. So yeah.
I was questioning whether or not I was making sane decisions, and you said the only way to find out is just send it. So
Yeah, it's never a same decision to run 100 miles, so you might as well just go for it.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
so,
stoked.
I don't know.
So
It's my personality has always been kind of, the only way I get in the pool is jumping head first. So
I've never been able to dip my toe into anything in my life. I always just dive right in. It can be a good trait. It can sometimes like maybe that's what my wife thinks like whimsical about me, but sometimes it also gets me in trouble, and it's usually like a weird balance of one of those three things where, but sometimes I succeed, but not always. But
I suppose it depends which pool you're jumping head first into.
yeah. So yeah, that's what that was like the coolest thing. It went from yeah, come out and pace me, and then like, oh, let's might as well just sign up for the whole thing. I think that's like the raddest conversation I've been a part of lately.
I can't
So
wait. It's gonna be great.
yeah, I'm super stoked. So I have a question. So going from like the first, because you ran for a while, previously, and then you got like, and we've talked about this before. What it's like to work in, like when you work in running and actually running is like that's a weird balance in itself. But you worked in the running industry, and then you kind of left it, and you kind of left running, and then you found running again. What do you think is like different about it this time? Because it seems to me like looking from like the outside looking in. I mean, I didn't know you in like your previous, running life, but it sounds to me like you have a different connection to it this time around. And I guess I was curious about what like what that is.
I mean, I think it's probably a couple of things. Um, I think the fact that I finally gave up drinking alcohol once and for all is making just a big difference in a lot of things in my mindset and my mind place. Um, I think age plays a huge role. You
Age.
know, I'm not a 25-year-old kid anymore and thinking I got something to prove to everybody, and I'm not carrying my giant ego on my shoulder anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, I mean, a lot of what people in this sport talk about, their why. My why at the end of the day is put my oxygen mask on. My mom always said this to us as a kid. When you're on an airplane, you got to put your own mask on before you can help the person next to you. You can't help them if you're in a bad state and choking for air. And
One
I
hundred
think
percent.
for a lot of years, I just running through life neglecting putting my own mask on, even when I was running regularly. Um, and so I think that that just has a lot to do with it. I got 4 kids now. I want to be the best me I can be. I want to be here with and for them as long as I can, and more than anything, I want them to see that a dad that shows them that you can do anything you want to set your mind to doing. You just got to
Yeah.
find whatever you're passionate about, and as you said,
Yeah.
send it.
Send it, man. I love. First of all, I want to say congratulations on your sobriety. Like that's something we share. Being sober, so congrats. That's a big deal. Yeah, it's amazing what like polluting your brain will do to like your overall like mental health and just outlook. And like you said, it's getting sober is like its own way of like shedding an ego. And I mean it's like it's a quick ego check getting sober. But
Yeah, well, the
I mean,
biggest thing for me, man, is starting my day in a good mood. When you're drinking every night, it's hard to start
oh
the day.
yeah,
You don't
yeah,
start
because
right
yeah
when
you're
everything's downhill.
yeah, your mind is just full. Like your mind is just full of poison when you wake up. So man, so I guess I just want to say congrats on that. That's a huge deal. Um, man, I love what you just said. Put your own mask on because I was thinking kind of when you were talking about like your why for running right now. I was thinking the same thing. It's like and I like you said that it's like running is like in its own way it's kind of selfish, but you're doing it so you can like be a better version of yourself. Like I love what you said. You kind of hit the nail on the head. For me, like currently, like I think my why is like never static. It like changes like constantly. It might, I mean, from day to day, sometimes my why is different. But yeah, I like that. I might have to steal that.
No
Steal that
worries.
from you. That's good stuff, man. Put your own mask on. I like
Yeah.
that. so so you rediscover your love for running, not only just running but trails. I love how random that is too. So that's cool.
I've
So
always
kind of
loved.
yeah, you've
I've
always loved trails. Okay.
I've always loved the trail. It's just I think again, some of it's just circumstance. So before when I was running, I was 25 and I was living in downtown Chicago. There's not a whole lot of trails. Now
Yeah.
I'm almost 45 and I live up near the Wisconsin border where there's trails everywhere.
Yeah.
So
Everywhere.
it's something I probably would have fallen into sooner if I had had access.
Yeah. Because like you're pretty close to like the Kettle Moraine area, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah, I'm
cool.
close to Kettle, and I'm the area I have. Another one near me that's great is Vet Acres, where uh, Ordering Mule puts on a lot of their races, and
Yeah.
Michelle Hartwig and them. So yeah, I haven't
Cool.
had a chance to do one of their races yet, but yeah, there's a lot of really great spots around here to get out close to home.
Yeah. Cool. So let's talk about the thumb ultra you just did. Kind of run us
Mhm.
through like training and like how that went. Man, I had so much fun watching the updates, and like your wife was like posting stories, and I thought that was really cool. So run us through all that. So first ultra. I mean,
Yeah,
first official ultra, I guess, but a
yeah,
timed ultra. But so let's talk about that.
yeah. It was a great experience. Training wise, I started very rigid. I heard you on your interview on Heidi's podcast not too long ago,
Oh yeah,
and talk
yeah.
about your training now, and I actually could relate a lot to that. So at the beginning of this cycle for this 50, I was using like a block training plan, that was telling me this day you got to do this and this speed workout and this. I I don't do well with that. I just
Yeah.
don't. I ended up pushing myself hard. I developed a little bit of a hip injury, um, nursed that back to health, and kind of went back to what has always worked for me, which is just running by what my body tells me to do. I'm sure a lot of people think that's insane. My wife's friend who runs ultras, she's like, "You don't have a coach?" Uh, but I don't know. I just do better that way. I'm doing what
Yeah.
I want to do and can do. So when I went back to that in the second half of that training cycle, things really started to click, and
Nice.
started to feel good. Um, Going into that race, I felt great. I think in my head a little bit, I was like, well, I might be a little undertrained because I had to take several weeks off with the injury and didn't get quite as many long runs in as I would have thought I needed or whatever. Um, but despite all of that stuff swirling around in my head, if I was just sitting there listening to my body, I felt dialed. Um,
Yeah.
and going into that race, I told you before, I took like the whole week off before that race. I just let my body totally recover. I did some like light walking, a little bit of light strength training, but that was it. And little shakeout run the day before on the course, for 3 miles, and just ready to rock. And the weather could not have been worse. Um, talk about what I was saying before, like the suck is where things are created, but the weather just could not have been worse. I mean, it was gloomy. It was, steady winds of 25 to 30 miles an hour with gusts upwards of 50 when we were closer to the lake. It was raining on and off, and the whole race was just on like country dirt roads mostly.
Oh
The
god.
course ended up having a lot more blacktop than I thought there was. So which was a whole nother thing I dealt with. Just pounding on that blacktop, which is something that I don't do very often. Um, and then the last section of the course is all through a trail, but it's so close to the lakefront that the trail is basically like running in sand.
Oh
Uh,
god.
so you ran like the first 35 miles into what was either a headwind or a crosswind. And it was crazy. When I was running some of those sections, the crosswind was so strong that when you would pass a farm that would have sizable barn and a couple trees, something, anything to block the wind for 50 feet. I would almost like fall over because you're expending so much energy to hold yourself upright as you are to propel yourself forward.
Oh
Um,
man.
so that was just a lot. It was crazy. The headwinds were nuts. Like I said, the weather was just it was freezing. But I loved. There was no point on that course where I didn't have a smile on my face.
Heck
Um,
yeah.
I was my legs hurt. I was cold. My eyes were watering. I had rain being pelted into my face at 30 miles an hour, but I could not have been happier. Um, and the whole time, all I'm thinking is I can't wait till I can run farther. So
Yeah, that's
it feel
right.
I like all of it. And that race had a secondary award for beating the sun. So you started at sunrise on one side of the thumb of Michigan and ran across the thumb along the coastline to the other side. If you beat sunset to the other side, you got this secondary mug. So, I was going into it saying, look, whatever happens, this is awesome. You just have fun, just finish the race, whatever. But in my head, I was kind of like, it'd be really cool to beat the sun. And that time was like 13:43 or something was the cutoff for that. And I was like, all right, we can do this. So the whole race I'm running, and in my head, all I'm really looking at is my average pace. It's like, don't let that average pace go over the X minute mark that I got to get to hit that 13:40. And I was, like I said, I felt good. Like, sometimes when you're running, everything works, and you have other days where it's like, man, I can't run 2 miles. Um, and it was just good. And I, got to the 50K mark and started looking at my watch. I was like, I've not only got the 13:40, I've got it by a little bit. And then I'm cranking along. I hit the 40-mile mark, and I'm like, I think I could break 11 hours in this thing. Um, and I'm feeling good. And the last 8 miles, the sun came out. I finally got to take my sweatshirt off,
Oh,
and
nice.
I cranked. I mean, the last 8 miles, I was just hammered down, feeling great in the sunshine, and it couldn't have been better. I ended up finishing in an 11:01, and so
Hell yeah.
I beat that goal, and you know everything about it was brutal, but at the same time, everything about it was glorious. And
Yeah.
the second I crossed that finish line, all I wanted was more. You know what I mean? So,
I
and
I love that because like I think some of my best running running memories are like tied to like really crappy weather. Like I
absolutely,
always yeah, it's like I think about like my first or second backyard ultra. It like ran. I got hail. It was cold. Got hailed on. I was like overheating by the end of the day. It's like one of my favorite things I've ever done. So that's so cool.
100%. I mean, even when I think back to like when I ran before, and I was more of a road runner. Like the races I remember are the worst. Like the year I ran Chicago was still one of the hottest years on record for that race. It was brutal, and I used to run this race called the Cross Country Challenge here. That was like at the end of the high school season, and it was on a farm, and it was in January, and you had to run through like frozen rivers, and you're running with all these high school kids that are running, 5-minute miles, and they're out there in -2 degrees wearing 3-inch splits and no shirt and cross country spikes. And I never left that race not bleeding, but I loved that. Like that was one of my favorite races. So yeah, I mean, it's do hard things, man. I mean,
Right.
everybody in this community says it all the time, but it's true. I mean, it's just
Absolutely.
that's where you get the reward. That those are the things you're gonna not forget.
Yeah, I think that's like one of my favorite things about like ultra running or like just trail running in general is like it kind of like shifts your perspective of what hard is. It's like you can run a 50, like, you crush this 50 miler, right? Like with like headwinds and crosswinds, like it kind of puts everything like a different perspective in your life, right? It's like you might run into like other adversity and be like, like, I've got this. Like it can't be any harder than like yeah. So I think that's so cool.
Absolutely, man. I mean, the next week I had to go right back to work, and you know, springtime here, so I'm putting boat piers in and getting pools
Yeah, I
in,
saw that. Yeah, not just regular work. You were like
and
waiting in water.
absolutely, things went wrong that day. Something breaks and floats away. I don't get as worked up about that as I used to.
Too tired too.
Well, but you're right. It's all in perspective. You know what I mean? It's like this is not the hardest or worst thing that's going to happen. This is
That's
not
right.
this is not my challenge. So
That's right. Something that's not running related that I'm curious about. So you're really big into weight training, and that's something that's like a big deal to me too. And so I want to touch on that because I don't see a lot of like ultra runners that really focus on strength training the way that I see you do from, you know, like I said, kind of from the outside looking in. That's something we kind of share as well. And then I was wanting to get into like some of like the diets, like that. I know you said at one point you and your family like really big into like homesteading, like growing your own food. Like I kind of want you to talk about like some of the whole food and stuff because like you posted like a shake the other day that had me really intrigued. So maybe run us through that too. But it
yeah,
looked great.
I mean, on the dietary stuff, we're a very crunchy household. We've always kind of been that way. Yeah, we just recently moved to a smaller, more manageable house, but for years, yeah, we were in a homestead. The house was 150 years old and needed constant work, and just it was awesome, but it was a nightmare to take care of on a day to day basis. But yeah, I mean, we had 27 chickens and 4 ducks and 2 dogs and 4 kids and just chaos.
Old
Uh,
McDonald.
yeah, uh, but it was awesome. But we're very, we I think our biggest thing, we were talking about this a little bit the other day, is the distance to your source. So, we make sure that we are sourcing our meat from local farmers, within a 20, 30-mile drive of us, where we know how that cow's being raised. We know it's getting fed and taken care of and all those kinds of things. We get our milk we get raw milk through a local milk co-op that every family in it takes turns driving up to the farm once a week to pick up milk for everyone. And um, now we don't have our chickens anymore, but we get our eggs from people we know in the area who do have them, and just trying to get that food as close to home. Um, and I think that's a big thing. You know what's going into it. You don't have all the junk. You don't have all the preservatives, all that kind of stuff. And also, too, for me, is the environmental thing. Um,
Yeah.
Look, we spend our whole life running in the forest. If you don't give a shit about the environment, you're not gonna have a forest left to run in. So, also, too, the impact of trying not to buy something that's getting shipped across the country or across the ocean or something like that. Obviously, nobody's perfect. It's not impossible.
Yeah.
We still eat on paper plates. We still stop at a Culver's when we're on a road trip. Life is life, but we do try to make the effort when we can to do those things. And like you saw during my race, my wife is super supportive and amazing with that stuff. I mean, hats off to her. I would have been a train wreck at that race without her support there. Um,
Yeah.
and she prepped the cooler with everything I would need. She made, homemade sandwiches and made sure that I didn't have, Snickers bars in there, that I was getting a, good whole food snack with peanut butter and real jelly. Um, so that was all amazing. But yeah, I mean, we just we try to do that when we can.
Yeah, I love that. It's like, obviously I'm not good at it, but I'll try to like dive deep into like eating more whole and stuff. So I think it's just cool, like how committed you guys are to it. It's not something that I'm good at. And I am mostly like a plant-based person, but I still think that like I'm never gonna like tell anybody what to eat, but I think it's cool. Like if you're gonna eat like a certain way, it's cool to like get it like local, like you guys do. So I think that's really cool, and it's just like something that plus I heard, like, I think you mentioned that your wife makes the best sourdough bread there is. So once I get my starter going, I'll have to have you give me some tips. But
Yes, yes, she's got the sourdough down. We don't
nice,
eat a
cool.
lot of it anymore because we've definitely gone to more of a protein-based diet in this house. So we don't eat. I have one of my sons has a little bit of a gluten allergy, so we kind of, as a house, avoid a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
But
that makes sense.
yeah,
So yeah, so tell me about like kind of how strength training is important to your running, because that's a huge deal to me. I know we talked about that too. I think I said something to the effect, I may not be very fast, but strength training kind of what keeps me from slowing down. So tell me a bit about like how important strength training is. I think it's very important to talk about it, because like you don't really hear people talking about strength training in this sport. So
yeah. I mean, it's definitely not quite as glamorous. Pictures of you doing squats in the gym are not as cool as the beautiful trail you're running on. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Excuse me, but yeah, I mean, I'm not a bodybuilder. My goal is not to be huge, but my goal is to always be strong. I think that it does play a huge role in everything. I mean, there's studies related to correlation between your lifespan and your leg strength in men, like direct correlations between
yeah, yeah,
how strong your legs are and how much you can squat and how long you're going to live. And with the running thing, when you I think when you get tired in those later stages of the race, I think it is the strength training that kind of carries you through, because at the end of the day, the cardio only gets you so far in my mind. And um, when the body kind of breaks down, it's going to fall onto those muscles, and if those muscles are know how to work, they're going to push you through some of that stuff, um, when everything else wants to throw in the towel. And also, I think it plays a huge role in injury prevention. I mean, I don't think you're going to find a runner who's going to tell you to disagree with that. I mean,
yeah, yeah.
we all, it's just hard to make time for it. You know what I mean? I
Oh
think,
yeah, especially when you're training for 50 plus miles, it's like you just have to squeeze it in somehow.
and for most people, if you're a runner, running's your thing, right? So you're lifting weights to support your running. So if you have to pick between the two, and you only got 20 minutes, you'd probably always rather go for a run than you would go sit in the gym. You know what I mean? But for me, I, 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 it happens because for me, I, it's not the same as running, but I get a lot of the same thing from lifting weights that I do from running in the woods. When I go
Yeah,
when I go into the gym and I put my headphones on and I'm pushing myself to just breaking limits where, you know, I'm squatting or lifting something and my legs are shaking violently because they're telling me, please just put this weight down. Like we don't care what you do, put this weight down. And I have to tell my body, shut up, we're doing this, and push through all of that. And when I do, because it's the same thing when I'm running long, and there's always a part of you that says, hey man, you can just stop and lay down, or you can just stop and go home. You don't got to keep running. Nobody's holding a gun to your head. And it's the same thing in the gym. I don't have to. Nobody next to me is going to know, you know whether or not 14 or 15 reps was where I hit collapse. So I don't have to push that last rep. I could easily just say, hey, man, I'm really tired. I could probably squeeze one more out, but I'm not going to. But when I do that, I get that same reward. So for me, I think I naturally just make time to do it because it's something that I love that I get that out of. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
get,
yeah.
and I had when I walk out of the gym, I have that same like calm that I do when I finish a run.
And you have a home gym set up too, kind of, right? A little bit.
Yeah, I have a
Yeah.
whole gym set up, and then we belong to a Y by us.
Oh, cool.
I There's a lot of like machine stuff that I could not afford to
Yeah.
do my
There's
whole
no way. It's
house.
crazy.
And so I mean, I go there for a lot of the machine stuff. I like to use the sauna and the steamer, and then
Oh man, I
do
need to get on that. I need to find a sauna close, but I live in an itty bitty little town, so we don't have a lot of those anemones.
the sauna is something else
Well,
I'll swear by,
I'm gonna
man.
bring up a big subject.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I have to get in. I'd like to do cold plunge too, but so I was wanting to talk about something. Mohican. That's the big word.
Yes.
How are you feeling?
I
How are you feeling about it?
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm
I
super stoked.
feel good. It's like the same thing before my 50. I feel like maybe I shouldn't feel good. Like maybe I'm being a little overconfident or something. There's always like that brain that's like you're just whatever. But I feel good. I feel ready. I don't have a question in my mind that we're gonna accomplish what we're setting out to accomplish.
Yeah. I feel better. It's funny because you said you listened to that interview where I was on Let's Run That Again.
Mhm.
And so I was coached. You listened to the episode, but I was coached, and I guess I didn't know this at the time, but I was just like kind of tired of running before I even started that 100 miler. And not saying that my coach wasn't a great coach, but just like you, it just I don't know if being coaches just isn't my thing, man. It's like I don't like that structured workout, and I've been running with my heart again since leading up to Rhode Island, and then now, and I don't know, I feel 100 times better about this 100 miler than I did my first one, and I think it was because I was I ran with my heart more, and I kind of took like a little step back too, back in January. So I feel like quite a bit more fresh and ready. I'm ready. I'm approaching it different. It's like I'm just ready to have some fun, man. I think we're gonna have a blast. Like that park looks insane. I cannot wait
Looks
to see
awesome.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I keep watching. YouTube videos about it. It's like we're gonna get to run through like waterfall like areas, like gorges and like covered bridges. I think 16. What will we have? 16,000 feet. So
Yeah.
it's punchy. We're gonna get some vert. We're gonna get some climbing. It looks like a really punchy.
There's a
Yeah,
like climb up tree roots of that like 500-year-old tree. I mean, it's the more I learn
yeah.
about it, the more excited I get.
I don't usually go this deep into like watching videos, but I'm just like the park looks sick. I can't believe this is in the middle of Ohio. First of all, because you think the Midwest, you're thinking like flat, like yeah, I can't wait. Like it just looks like really beautiful, buttery single track, and I'm really stoked. I need to start packing though. I have not. Like I just started like putting my Amazon shopping list together. I was like, well, I guess I should get like maybe batteries and like maybe start getting some nutrition together. But so I guess I'll do that while we're tapering. But
That's
yeah, I'm
on my
stoked.
for next week.
That's what I figured. It's like, I can always run down to REI or I don't know. I might try some different things for nutrition this time because I think did you mention that you do? Oh no, you do like honey, right? So I was thinking about
Yeah.
bringing some honey and like trying some different things for nutrition instead of just like the standard goos and I might still bring some like gel packs or whatever, but I'm gonna try a few different options to kind of push me
Honey and
through.
salt is nature's pre-workout.
I think I might. That's what I was looking into, like kind of like electrolyte honey, but maybe making my own. But
Honey and
um,
sea salt. I mean, that'll give you a bump like you wouldn't believe.
yeah. Or I was looking at like doing like salted maple syrup or something. I'm gonna try some different stuff. I know they say not to try new things on race day, but it's like, yeah, like what else do we have to lose? It's like,
Send it, Joe.
right, yeah, send it, man. Yeah, I'm stoked. I can't wait to start packing and getting ready. It's got a 5 a.m. start time. That'll be cool. Like 32-hour cutoff. So it's like, oh, all we have to do is just keep moving, man. I think we're gonna have a blast. Also, knock on wood, we've had some terrible weather in Indiana. Like I know you have too. It's been kind of shitty where you're at, but it looks like we're gonna get that out of the way. And so far, Mohican weekend's looking really solid. So,
I've been watching the forecast for Loudon
dude,
very, very carefully the last week here. So
it looks like it's not going to be hot. It looks like we might have to worry about getting cool at night. But considering what I've heard, yeah, I don't want to say that too loud, I guess. But
yeah.
considering what I've heard about, like I heard Mohican's like notorious for being like really hot, like downpours for the entire thing. So I don't know, man. Maybe we have lightning in a bottle for this Mohican. I hope, but I'm
Either
stoked.
way, bring if it's gonna suck, bring on the suck.
Yeah. I,
We'll have fun either
if,
way.
hey, maybe we just don't want perfect weather. That way, it's more memorable. But yeah, I'm
You just
fired up, man.
make sure you pack all your foul weather gear.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna bring everything in case if I bring everything, then I won't need it.
Yeah, if you bring it all, it'll be great. If you leave it at home, then it'll be.
So I'll bring everything in anticipation. But the weather is what we get is what we get. But I'm really stoked. Yeah, I feel totally different about it this time, and I'm excited, man. This will be your first hundo. That's great, man. So that's a big milestone. So question. Let's say, you know, Mohican goes the way we want. Where do you see like your running going? Do you see it going anywhere past 100 miles if one day, or because I know we talked about this before, but
Yeah, my I think I've mentioned this to you. My kind of like life bucket list thing is that I really want to run all 11 of the U.S. National Scenic Trails end to end, which
hell yeah,
total a little over 18,000 miles. So
nice.
obviously would not be attacking that all at once, but
Just pull a cam and just go for it, right?
yeah,
Just
I mean, our lifelong dream is to just one day sell this house and move into a camper and
uh,
travel the country with the family while I run trails. So
oh man, I know I'm trying hard to sell that idea to my wife. I'm like, hey, we're gonna be empty nesters like just a few short years. Like let's start building this camper now and just, like immediately an immediate no on that. But that's all right. I have time to get her to warm up to it. What's that?
opposite way here.
Is
I,
that?
I,
Oh,
I'm just like, man, we gotta save up a little bit. We gotta like get things in line. My wife's like, we'll figure it out. Just sell the house tomorrow. Like,
I love that. So my wife's been like hiking harder trails with me lately. Like, for instance, like Sunday or this weekend, we're going to go hike. I've got her on some harder trails in the past this year. So I'm like slowly inching her towards it. Like eventually I'm going to get her to run on trails. Eventually, like, I don't want to say this too loud. She might hear me. Eventually I'll get her in that camper and we'll be traveling. But I'm sure as soon as this podcast is over, she's going to be like, no, but I'm going to get her there. That's so rad, man. Yeah, wouldn't that be the dream? I
that'd be
love that
awesome.
idea.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's cool,
I
man.
saw a long time ago that documentary movie Ride the Divide, which is about a mountain bike
Phenomenal.
that they do every year down the Continental Divide Trail. And ever since I saw that movie, the only thing I could think is, man, that'd be fun to go run that. So,
It would be so fun. I don't
and
know why I've watched that so many times, but
I live right by the Ice Age Trail, so which is one of the 11, and I've all thought about running that a bunch. The time I've spent on the sections of the Appalachian Trail, it's just absolutely beautiful. Um, you know, what JB Giblin just did the Pacific Crest. I was following
yeah,
along with him. And then what's it, Through Hikers just did his FKT on the Ozarks. Just everything you see about them, it's like, looking at the trail we're gonna go run now. I mean, it's just, how could you not want to just go spend 45 days hanging out in that?
Man, I know I always have like these big dreams of being able to do something. I'd like to get on the AT one day, but man, sometimes someday I'll have to get you down south here on the Cape. Like the Knobstone is like basically they use that for the AT training. So it's a beautiful course. Like the Knobstone Trail is like the most rugged damn place I've ever been, but it is like it's beautiful. You wouldn't believe. Once again, it's like you couldn't believe it's on this planet when you're there, but you have to
Especially
get.
Indiana, right?
Right, yeah. No one. I've heard people like that are on the KT that is like, this is Indiana. Like, yeah, like it's amazing this is here, but and it surprises people.
I feel the same way about Kettle here. I mean, it's
Kettle.
believe that you're sitting in the Midwest near only a couple hours outside of Chicago. So
But yeah, man. Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm ready. I'm ready to. I don't know if I'm like ready to taper, but I guess we have to. But yeah, for once, it's finally been coming together for me. I think we're gonna hold a buckle. So
yeah, man, let that body recover a little bit, and like I said, I can't wait. Like you said, just excited to get out there, be present, enjoy the scenery, get to know a good friend a little bit more,
yeah,
just have a great time.
yeah, cool. I can't wait, man. Well, man, Derek, thanks for coming on. It's been awesome getting to know you, dude. Obviously, I know we've had you on What's in Your Earbuds, and I probably know it's in your earbuds because you sent me some songs earlier. Which, by the way, I didn't. I think I might like EDM, so I'm just going to put that out there.
I'll get you hooked.
So I ran home listening to that, and it just like I let the playlist take off, and I was like, shit, I think I like this. So it was perfect running music, by the way.
I'll get.
So yeah. Yeah, thanks for that suggestion. Thanks for all the ads on the playlist. You were listening to the episode. We're 30 hours and 9 minutes now. So I have to ask, what's in your earbuds like right now, today?
Right now, today, actually, the thing that was kicking me off all day is yesterday. Callie Levinson shared a playlist on her story that was
Oh,
disco EDM music. I can't remember. It was called Trail Disco or something. I sent her a message earlier because I was like, this playlist has been lighting me on fire all day.
hell
Uh,
yeah.
so I was kicking into that all day.
Oh, that'd be a bucket list. I have to get Callie Vincent on my What's in Your Earbuds podcast. There it is. That's a goal right there. Well,
Yeah,
thanks, Derek, and thanks for coming on, man. Like I said, I've been having a blast getting to know you. I can't wait to meet in real life next weekend. Let's go have a bunch of really cool fun in the woods throughout the night. Shit'll get weird. It's gonna be fun. I
yeah,
can't
man,
wait
we're
to.
car camping, and it's
Hell
gonna be
yeah!
so,
I
yeah.
love car camping, so it's gonna be the best. I hate. I learned this the hard way from 100Ks and like trying 100 milers. The last thing that I want to do is tear down a tent.
Oh,
So man, car camp. But yeah. So yeah, man, Derek, thanks for coming on. Like I said, it's been great to get to know you, and I appreciate everyone who has tuned in. Give Derek a follow. What's your IG handle, Derek,
uh,
for everybody?
turn, tail, and trail.
Yeah, great follow. There's always going to be good music on there. His running videos are cool, and he's hilarious, and he's just a solid dude. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and I will catch you all next episode. Yeah, it'll be in the description too. And I will catch you all on the next episode of Beyond the Finish Line.
Thanks, Joe.